Hey everyone, it's Impact Week here at Relevant. I'm Cameron Strang. This is Jesse Carey.
Day 4?
Day 4. It's Thursday. I know it's been a long
We have
one.
survived a marathon of Hilton Head Island,
That's true.
the Christian soap opera.
We are what we're doing all week. If you haven't joined us, I'll give you a quick recap. Every day this week, we are spotlighting another great organization that we want to support, and we want you to help us. And so we've partnered with Bright Peak Financial, and what they're doing is accelerating your giving each day. So Monday, we wanted to address the domestic hunger crisis, and we supported Feeding Children Everywhere. We had packing stations here in the office, and Rafa and Shannon from Bright Peak joined us in studio. It was a lot of fun. Tuesday, we supported A21, amazing organization founded by Christine Kane to end human trafficking. Yesterday, we supported Preemptive Love Coalition and helped raise money for a safe space for kids in a refugee camp in northern Iraq. And today, we're excited to tell you we are supporting World Vision, and we are raising money specifically for emergency food, health, and emergency supplies for East Africa, where there is a crisis going on, a drought, a humanitarian crisis that is at a huge scale, and they need all the emergency relief and development that they can get.
Yeah.
So we're going to raise money specifically for East Africa today, and we want you to help us. We have a lot planned today. We have psychological endurance challenges coming up. We have a ton of stuff we're going to set up for you today. We're going live now. We're going to go live in a couple hours, and if you've been watching all week, we'll go live all afternoon as well with our stupid
And they're in for
stuff.
a treat if they tune in the afternoons. If you've tuned in up to this point, you know we're willing to do anything, pretty much anything to raise money for these great causes. Subjecting ourselves to the world's first Christian soap opera. We set
Tyler Daswick, our very own Tyler Daswick,
Daz
watched
did it.
the
Daz
entire
will do it, and he
day.
did it.
He watched Hilton Head Island from
we
our friends at PureFlix, the world's first Christian soap opera. Psychological endurance challenge.
We sat in a room.
Yes.
We did things that no one would recommend you try at home. We put essential oils into a fog machine, and
We broadcast we taped this week's podcast from the podcast studio while we were diffusing essential oils in our fog machine, and then throughout the day, as you gave more toward A21, we lit more and more essential oils. We didn't do it right, and we're still kind of tingly.
still feeling the effects.
Several
the
days
nervous
later.
system, I don't know will recover at this point, but
Yeah.
it's
was
all
bad.
for a good cause.
Yesterday, the psychological endurance challenge was that we got Joel Osteen's game, Your Best Life Now, the
board
game,
game.
and we played the board game all afternoon with you guys live on Facebook, and that was a psychological endurance challenge for all of us. That was
including the viewer, who are
Yes,
subjected to the bizarre task players are forced to do while playing that game.
it was a experience.
It's supposed to be an exercise
for the
in
mind,
self-
body, and soul.
It's supposed to be an exercise in self,
Appreciation.
improvement. It's really
It was very affirming.
it's really just a test of raw nerve to see.
We also think that a former Nixon staffer or speechwriter, and maybe even just Chuck Colson himself, is the person
someone
who wrote
involved in the Watergate scandal.
most of
involved
the
in that,
game
yeah,
questions.
yeah.
It was very
a lot of the
strange.
games were based on the death of Richard Nixon, which we found very odd.
for Joel Osteen's Your
Yeah,
Best Life
but
Now,
either
the
way,
game.
If you watch, you're in for all to say. If you watch, you're in for a treat every afternoon.
And if you missed it, you probably had things you had to do because you're a functioning adult. But if you missed it, you can view those videos and a lot of that ridiculousness on our YouTube channel. You can go over to the Relevant Facebook page.
Yeah,
But
they're
what
all
we're talking
archived
about today is
perpetuity.
relevantmagazine.com/Impact Week. Today we are raising money for emergency relief for East Africa. We're going to bring on one of our friends from World Vision here in a few minutes, Brian Duss, who took Jesse and I to Somaliland a few months ago. Still haven't forgiven him for that. But it was a very eye-opening experience, and we really want to do what we can to help the region. We're going to talk about that. There's a lot of stuff to unpack there. He's a great guy. You're going to have fun meeting him. But as you know, on Impact Week, we've partnered with Bright Peak because they are accelerating your giving.
Yeah.
And I want to give an update about yesterday's giving for Preemptive Love Coalition. As you know, we are raising money for the safe space in the refugee camp in northern Iraq. And it's for the kids, and you guys came through. And Mark, can we pull up the grand total? Yesterday, we raised $14,556.
Give yourself a hand.
For Preemptive Love Coalition. And thank you to Bright Peak for
good work. Good work.
They were doubling people's giving all afternoon. It was pretty amazing. So thanks to Bright Peak. Thanks to you guys. Every day has gone up. I think we raised like $8,000 on Monday, something like $12,000 on Tuesday, almost $15,000 yesterday.
So let's keep that going.
When you go to relatednice.com/impact week, if you missed or if you're passionate about trafficking, you want to give to A21, go give on that page. It's still there. You can give to each day's cause still, even if you missed it because you're a functioning adult and have things to do.
Well, if you're a functioning adult and have things to do, blow them off because this is way more important. Today we're raising money for World Vision, who what they're doing is incredible because when we went, we saw firsthand how dire the situation is in that part of the world right now. We visited Somaliland, which is actually within the borders of Somalia itself, but a part of the world that has been largely neglected by a lot of international aid efforts. They've suffered a drought for years, which has led to a famine, which because for a generation the people there have been herdsmen and have really relied on plant life and growth that results from regular rain to feed their animals. A lot of livestock has died. And
we met families that for generations they've been nomadic herdsmen, and they would have 4,000 livestock in their herd, and they literally now had 3 or 4, not 1,000, 3 or 4 left. Their way of life, their sustenance, and their economy has collapsed. There's 3 or 4 million people living in that area, and it's a very strange situation with a lot of political conflict on its borders, the sea to the north, and they're trapped. I mean, essentially they're trapped, these people. And a very primitive country, very tough to get aid to them because there are no roads. When we landed in Somaliland, we had to go north about 40 miles, and it took something like 7 or 8 hours because we were driving through dirt paths, dried up rivers. There are no roads. And so how do you like truck relief to an area if there's no infrastructure? It's very, very difficult. It's a huge humanitarian crisis, probably the biggest one that nobody's talking about. And we saw it firsthand. Long-term development needs, as we met with leaders there and elders of the villages and stuff like that, is, you know, really they weren't. If you asked me, I would have assumed, okay, drought. They need clean water wells. They need water wells. But the reality is, you know, they're used to walking 10 kilometers to a well, and they didn't see that as an urgent need. What they actually said was a need was that they need to be taught how to fish. They have no ability to fish the ocean that they're on the border of. And so they're like, we need boats, we need nets, we need to be taught how to actually harvest the sea since we don't have our livestock anymore. Humanitarian aid organizations are working on that. World Vision in particular is working on that. It's a very complex process to get something sustainable like that in place. In the meantime, a lot of international aid that was keeping people alive, literally giving them resources for food every month, those programs have ended. And there is a crisis right now of hunger and famine and emergency relief, a need for emergency relief. So while we're working on the long-term development stuff, the fishing and the pivot long-term, there's a need for emergency relief and food and water and medicine. And that's what we're trying to raise money for today for East Africa.
And I'll say this too, if people want to learn more about it, we're on the front page of the website today. We're putting up our story that we did from Somaliland.
RelevantMagazine.com. Yeah, if you're watching this on Facebook, it's not on the front page of Facebook.
Yeah, I apologize. So. Our fantastic website, full of great content. Today we're featuring a story about this crisis.
If you make it go viral, maybe it will be on the front page of Facebook.
Yeah, probably so. Zuckerberg, I hope you're listening. Okay. But, you know, I think we should bring in someone from World Vision.
I think you were going to say from Somaliland. Hey, let's bring on Brian Duss. He's on the line right now. Brian Duss coming. Hey, Brian. Hey, are we going to be seeing him on the screen, or are we just switching back and forth? We're just switching back and forth.
Okay.
So when you talk, the viewers will see you, but when we talk, we don't see you, is basically what we're saying. So we're just going to pretend.
I've been watching all week, and what I can tell you for sure as a fan of Relevant is that people are ready to have a break from Jesse. So I'm going to try to talk a lot for this segment.
Brian, great having you on, and we'll see you. Hang it up, Mark.
All right, so before we got on, Brian said, hey, how loose is this? Because I have some really funny stories. And I said, Brian Duss, what's happening in East Africa is no laughing matter. And that is true, but Brian Dust has some funny stories, so I thought that'd be a good place to start.
Let's open it up with the icebreaker. Pick your funniest of the two, Brian. The funniest of the two. What do you got?
So about 5 minutes before you guys had me on, we had a fire drill here at the World Vision office. And
is everybody okay?
Yeah, everyone's fine. We just had a fire drill. But that's really what this type of work is all about, is that you have no idea what's going to happen. As I know that Jesse can attest, having been in a 6-hour middle of nowhere car ride. So you got to be ready for.
That's true.
You got to be ready for violent illness that can strike at any moment.
No, okay. So we land in Somaliland, and like we gotta go out to the field. We get in Land Rovers. We actually have armed militia, armed guards with us. It's a very volatile region.
Yeah.
And there's only a few of us going, and we had a convoy of like 6 or 7 of these old school Land Rovers.
Yeah.
And again, remember I said no roads. So we are going just whatever the terrain's given us.
Very bumpy.
We're going
very
for
bumpy.
6 hours.
It's like being at high seas.
We're going
for
for
6 hours in the
right?
heat.
With tough
I'm only
men.
human.
Tough men. They have lived through the worst conditions that you can imagine.
They're
These
heavily
are tough
armed.
men.
They're very cool.
And yeah, lots of big guns, lots of big tires, and about 20 minutes into the ride, I look over at my seatmate, and he's looking out the window. And he doesn't look too good.
Just trying to hold it together. got a long time there in the
We're
desert.
about 20 minutes into the 6-hour ride, and Jesse's realizing, oh, I get car sick. And so we pull over the convoy.
Listen. Let he who has never been violently ill to their stomach cast the first stone. I was literally, the cool guys in the convoy who are armed guards were standing over me laughing while I was very sick for the entirety of the 6 hours.
The entirety of the 6 hours. So half hour stop, okay, fine. And then we get going again. It feels better. And then about 30 minutes later, oh, I'm very sorry. And like he had to stop the convoy again. And he's just apologizing.
That was the big takeaway from the trip for Cameron and Brian. Brian, you have been to parts of the, all over the world. Tell us a little bit. Tell our people who are watching what is, particularly sticks out to you about Somaliland, other than when you take these journalists there, that they get violently ill and are not capable of standing even the most basic needs of traveling terrain. What stands out about the region to you, Brian?
When I think about Somaliland and I think about East Africa, which we talk about Ethiopia, Kenya, South Sudan, and Somalia, I think about great challenges, but I also think about great opportunities. So right now, World Vision is bringing clean water to folks all over Africa, and I think about one of my favorite Bible passages. I think about in Luke, it says, to whom much is given, much is required. And I think about the challenge. You think about the people we met who didn't have clean water, who used to have 1,000 cattle, and now they have about 15. We think about those challenges, but we also think about the resources that God has blessed us with and the opportunity that we have to help transform a child's life. And I think that's amazing. I can throw a whole bunch of stats at you. I can talk about over 800 million people don't have access to clean water. We can talk about the fact that in Somaliland specifically, not only are they dealing with a drought that's lasted over 6 years, in the last 6 months, they had to deal with torrential downpours and flooding. So when you have a land that's hit with a drought and then it's hit with flooding, it's like a dry sponge right out of the package. It's not able to absorb water. So not only are they suffering from a drought, now everything that they started to grow got wiped away. So they're starting over from scratch right away. But what I love is that when you go to worldvision.org/Somaliland, you can learn about how you can be a part of what God is doing in all over East Africa.
Yeah, and we definitely encourage people to check that out. But I think for today,
you're really good at this, Brian.
Yeah,
it's very inspiring.
Brian, you have a career in this, my friend. I got a sense about that. But yeah, go check out World Vision, what they're doing. But today, if you give through relevantmagazine.com/Impact Week throughout the day, we're going to be doing different things that money and contributions through our partner Bright Peak will actually be doubled. So definitely check out what they're doing at
They're
World
doing
Fishing.
today again? They're doubling?
I think at the Hour of Powers. I think
we're doing
right.
a power hour.
Yeah.
Throughout the week, Bright Peak has been accelerating your giving in different ways, and so like there was like power hours where they double things.
Yeah.
There's other challenges, Bright Peak challenges that they're doing to spur more giving. So keep tuning in all day. And Bright Peak will be accelerating what you give for East Africa. I think right now, before we let Brian go, we should bring on the Bright Peak Wheel of Giving. Is that what we're calling it? The Impact Wheel. The Wheel of Impact.
Hey, could I talk about the fishermen too?
Yeah, you can talk about the fishermen, Brian.
I want to see that wheel spin, and then I want to talk about what
Okay,
everyone loves.
Brian, let me ask you.
Off, Brian. You can.
Brian, let me ask you a question, man. Okay. Cameron spun this wheel on day one.
Yeah. No.
And day two, and contributed. It was responsible for a contribution of mere $500. The lowest possible.
Leslie Cruz, she spun it, and she got $500, which we're grateful for.
Brian, in one effortless spin, I doubled that with an impressive $1,000 donation. Would you like me to spin it again, or Cameron to spin it, Brian? Knowing what you know now.
Redemption.
Or you go with the hot hand. Your call, Brian.
I'm a big fan of redemption, so I'm going to go with Cameron.
I'm rooting for him, but I feel that you've made a mistake.
All right, here we go.
Let's see.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
This is how much Bright Peak will throw in to start off the morning for World.
No! It's on the thing. I get to go again. This is inconclusive.
Spin again.
It is literally on it.
Brian, your call. Brian, your call.
Just said spin again.
Brian, who, because Cameron's spin was so weak, it couldn't even get. It was basically a $0 spin. Would you like someone who has rolled $500 and $0, or 1,001
spin? Look,
spin?
I have gone from 500. I'm almost to 2,000.
Okay. All right. All right.
I've never seen that before. I've never seen it stop on it before.
Oh,
thank you, Bright Peak. I mean, still
$500.
Still $500.
$500. Hey, you can go give make up for Cameron's poor spin.
Take a picture now, Leslie, because we can send this picture to Bright Peak.
Hey, make up for Cameron's poor spin by going to relevantmagazine.com/Impact Week.
All the photo evidence will say this number.
Okay. Go to relevantmagazine.com/Impact Week, where you can give more, you can learn more.
Excited because I hit 2,000. Like, we're taking a picture for social media. We're going to send this to Bright Peak, so they have to give 2,000.
Brian, you're complicit in this.
Okay, wait.
You're complicit in this lie.
Let me throw in 2 more things real quick.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Okay, so I don't know if you can see me on the screen, but Rich Stearns told me personally every time I sip out of this World Vision branded mug on camera, which I'm doing right now, he's going to personally give $500. So I'm going to wait, there it is. One more time.
Who is?
Also, if people read the article, they go to your website, Give Today, Bright Peak is chipping in, and that's amazing. They can read the piece on the website about Somaliland. We met some fishermen. These are